Hey Phil, I saw this quote and I thought you'd really like it. There will be a few times in your life when all your instincts will tell you to do something that defies logic, upsets your plans, and may seem crazy to others. When that happens, you do it. Listen to your instincts and ignore everything else. Ignore logic, ignore the odds, ignore the complications, and just go for it.
Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. Hello, Positive Philter listeners. It's Philip Wilkerson, back with another episode of Positive Philter. Honestly, this is the first time I'm testing my new mic, so hopefully this sounds better than other episodes, but I am super excited today because I have a special guest joining me, or I'm joining her actually in her wonderful shop here in Clifton, Cupcaked. I have a really good friend of mine, Kristina. Hello, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, as you know, if you've been following the podcast, some of my things about is health and career and family. And one of my earliest episodes was about going out and, taking risk. And I had the opportunity to interview a friend of mine. His name is Kevin, and he was going on a new venture about opening a clothing line. And so it got me thinking about other guests I'd love to have on the podcast and people that have taken risk in regards to their career and doing new things. And I think a commonality of risk takers is people that are new entrepreneurs. So it kind of got me to you because obviously I eat a lot of your cupcakes and we frequent, my wife and I frequent your business. You made our second son's gender reveal cake. So we really appreciate you. So for the listeners, just give a little introduction about your shop and then maybe just a rundown of how you decided to become a business owner.
Well, my shop is in a tiny little town in Clifton, Virginia, and it's just kind of all the things that I thought were really great about life, and that's dessert, coffee, tea, and I somehow managed to pull a wine license, so there's some wine in there too if it's that kind of day. And it's just kind of a place that I go for release because I was working in the corporate world. I went to NYU and got my economics degree and ended up naturally in finance accounting.
Fun. Sounds real fun.
It was amazing. I loved it, obviously. I did so good. And after 2 years, I tapped out. And I was kind of baking from the apartment that I was living in at the time. Just it kind of calmed me down. And it somehow snowballed into people like wanting cupcakes on Saturday mornings and for parties and stuff like that. And I actually got so busy doing that I was calling in sick to my office job.
Oh, wow.
And around like Christmas time of 2012, I was just like, you know what? I think I could probably do this. It was kind of a pipe dream. Like, all truth be told, I was like, killing time at work, looking at like spaces for lease and what would it take to open a bakery. And it really, I hate using the word easy, but it all happened like really, really easily. And this pipe dream just kind of like snowballed into reality. And a year and a half later, I had my opening day, and it was kind of surreal, but it was pretty cool at the same time.
I mean, and I think for the listeners, that's a really good lesson. I think sometimes, taking new ventures, like quote unquote, hating it related back to me, but this podcast and just random stuff, you don't actually appreciate the journey sometimes because like you're like, oh, it just happened. But normally sometimes when there's things that you're really passionate about or maybe in the world or the universe things play out, it might not, like your story said, it just naturally happens. Like,
it was so weird.
It
It was so weird.
Hey,
like I don't bake.
I want to have a cupcake shop. Oh, and you like blink your eyes. I'm in a cupcake shop.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And so I mean, and I think that's really motivational for some of the listeners out there that are interested in starting a small business or a new business such as yours, is that it doesn't have to be, what I heard too is that you start on the side hustle, maybe friends and cupcake birthday parties. And what was some of when you say you're just doing this as a side hustle and it was in the back of your mind, what were some of the things, like small steps where people or other people or yourself where you were like, okay, I want this to be a business?
In hindsight, looking back, baking cupcakes as opposed to going into an office just seemed like the dream job. Like people were paying me to make cake, and it was just one of those things that you're like, how am I getting paid to do this? This is so fun. So yeah, it started out as a fun, like, calm me down kind of thing. And then I started getting creative with it and like really had fun with like making new flavors. And it kind of like kept my momentum going because I was like, oh, obviously you've been a customer, which we appreciate so much. And it's not just cupcakes anymore. And it really opened my eyes to, it sounds crazy, but baking is like its own little subculture. And there's like people that are famous in the baking world and they're amazing and I follow them. And it really is just, it's fun. It's fun. Baking is fun. And, once something in your mind clicks that you can get paid to do something fun, it's like this whole new world of opportunity opens. And that's kind of where I went, okay, maybe I don't have to, wake up and go into an office every day because people are paying me to make cake, and this is amazing.
That's amazing. And one of the things I also just heard just now was that you said it's a new world, and there's people that, who were some people that either served as a tangible mentor to you for this new business, or maybe someone that you just followed and was like, I saw how they did it, I want to model it after them.
So that's another kind of like crazy thing. I went into it blind. I seriously had no clue. Like I said, I spent the free time I had like researching contractors and places to lease and what does a kitchen need? Like I've never worked in a bakery, never worked in a coffee shop. Like the jobs that I had were at like the gym, the front desk at the gym in college. And then when I was interning at college, I was like setting myself up to have an office job. And I did have a really cool internship at Sony Music, but that's not baking.
Right. So and you didn't really have like a straight tangible mentor. Like for me, when I wanted to start a podcast, what I did, shout out to Dean Bakari, I just saw a guy that was doing a podcast, and I literally I called him and said, how do you do a podcast? And he told me, you do this, and I wrote on a piece of paper and kind of followed his mold, and then I listened to him. But it was like a tangible person I can grab on.
No.
Like I can grab and like actually say that's a person that I can attach myself to and see how they did it, and I'll just copy them. And you said
I had no.
Your parents or
I was running it out of my dad has worked in finance his whole life. My mom is like stay-at-home mom, killing it. She was amazing. She worked with me like 16 hours a day when I first opened.
Right, shout out
to mom. But she didn't know what she was doing either. We didn't know what we were doing. It was one of those things that was, people talk about passion projects and they sound so unrealistic. But it was a passion project. And because I didn't have somebody that I was working under and I was doing it myself, I literally moved from my kitchen in my apartment to the bigger kitchen that is now Cupcaked. And I really was flying by the seat of my pants. I still every day. Like I still have the time. I'm just like, all right, well, we're going to figure it out. Well, you have to.
And this is just my observation from the outside. It's a real shop. So like
it's real. It's there. It's on Yelp. It's on Google
Yelp.
Maps.
It has a real staff. We come in there and it looks nice. I mean, from the appearance on the outside, it looked like you knew.
Looks like I knew what I was doing.
Listen, and that's just amazing. I mean, it's literally blowing my mind that like I'm finding out that you did this on the seat of your pants. But
It's
I
just
don't know.
me.
I'm just like kind of dumbfounded because, like, you know, for me,
Did I just like throw the whole thing off?
no, you didn't throw anything off. It does show. I think that's a great thing. That's if it's something you're really passionate about, like you'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
You'll make a tangible way to see how it works. You know, maybe leading up, I'll ask if you set goals, but you know, I think maybe some of the other things, if it's something you're really passionate about, it'll ooze through. And what I'm trying to allude to is that from the outside, me being one of your frequent customers, it looked like you know what you're doing.
That's so good.
I think maybe that's if you're really passionate about something and you put yourself in the mindset that you want to do something and you fake it till you make it kind of mentality. I think I think a lot of that passion part is if you project that you are a cupcake business owner and you project that to the world, I think you naturally just become that. And I think you projected that because for me, I thought you knew. Like I thought we were gonna do this podcast. I was like, "Oh, she's gonna tell me about mentors and a business plan," and you really kind of like just dived in.
Yeah, and I still every single day am learning. Like it's crazy because I only worked for big companies before I did this, and it's one of those things because it is in a small town. You kind of like, you know, you have to trial and error. What do people want? What don't they want? And you have to be willing to adapt. My business right now is completely different than the business that I had in mind the day I opened. I thought I was going to, you know, if I had to like pick a model, Georgetown Cupcake, they're making millions of dollars off only cupcakes. And I was like, oh, I can do that too. That's easy. You know, like, no, it's so not easy. Yeah. It's not easy. And being in a small town, like you can't eat a cupcake. You can eat a cupcake every day, but people don't generally. But, you know, so I expanded into breakfast foods and, you know, I have this great coffee and I really had to be aware of what people wanted. And that's what I had to mold after, not so much, okay, this is what my business plan said, so this is what I'm going to do it. My business plan was thrown out the window on like month 2.
Right, you had to be flexible.
Yeah.
Now, what about, okay, and please don't blow my mind on this. You tangibly had to like write down goals, right? Like you had to like say, not per se strict business plan, but say, okay, I want to make umpteen sales. Or, I want to at least buy the building, you know. So did you, with these tangible goals, I'm looking at you like, please, with these tangible goals, with these tangible goals, did you actually write down some stuff?
Yeah. So actually the way that, you know, a lot of people always wonder and they just assume that somebody paid for it and that I didn't have to do anything. The way that it actually came about as far as, I mean, I was 24 when I was doing the build out. As far as that's concerned, I marched around. I started at Bank of America thinking like, oh yeah, Bank of America is going to give me money. It's fine. I've been a Bank of America member for like 7 years. They'll definitely give me money, you know? Yeah. And, so I had a 45-page business plan. I guess this is where the economics degree like really did come into play. I had a 45-page business plan that I like marched around, started at Bank of America, and Bank of America was like, not a chance. Take this to the small business, you know, like government sector. Get a loan from them, from the government, from the SBA, like, you know, and I didn't even know how to go about doing that. And somehow, some way, I got word of a small bank that really loved these like passion projects. So I marched in there one day. I sent him an email, called him. I was like, yeah, I need to talk to somebody about a loan. And this is like stroke of luck. I do believe the universe lines us up in certain ways.
Good people, yeah.
And the owner of this bank, the president, actually happened to live in the town of Clifton. So he was the only person that really understood looking at this business plan of how can we justify an X dollar build out for this cupcake shop. Everybody else looked at this little cupcake shop that's in this town of a few hundred people and they're like, this is going to go belly up in 3 days. I'm not going to fund this, but he got it. So, you know, I remember walking out of there and I called my mom and I was like, oh my God, they're going to give me money. Like they're going to give me money.
They're gonna give me a shot.
So I did have it written down. Did I stick to it?
Man, that's kind of like one of my Eminem stories, man. Like, like your one shot moment kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, it worked.
This whole interview is blowing my mind right now because, and I hope that it just inspires listeners, and it's inspiring me because I think some of the things it's a combination of, fixed things, projecting out in the universe, being passionate about something, at least writing down some things, but also just knowing like sometimes this the things that happen is because I just knew someone, or that that person I met by putting myself out there. You had to. I bet being told no by a couple places is not nice or a good feeling, but you had to continue to say, I'm gonna go to that small bank. I'm gonna go to this bank. I'm gonna go to that bank.
Yeah.
And by going to that small bank, you met the person, I met
the person.
The person that's gonna give you a shot, and I mean, it's very inspiring to me, and kind of leading into it. What are some actual challenges? Like, okay, so you didn't have a mentor, so maybe you're going into it with a little naivete or naivete. I don't know, naivete. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know, but you go in there with that mindset. Maybe not someone warning you as much of the pitfalls, the obstacles of being a small business owner. So what was some of the things you're like, whoa, I did not expect, this obstacle, like this first one? Maybe whether it's being like a hater, like everyone loves cupcakes, and
except this one person.
All my birthday parties, everyone is giving me props about the cupcakes, and I don't know, maybe you get your first bad cupcake review. What was some obstacles that you experienced that caught you off guard?
Honestly, obstacles every day. Mm-hmm. To the point where I believe that the shop has played its part of like not being my forever, but toughening me as a person. Mm-hmm. I think that it was this part of my life was so necessary for my development as a human in general, because it's so hard every day. I mean, I try my best to keep the breakdowns to a minimum.
Yeah.
But it happens. That's life. We're human. And so when we're looking at obstacles, I've been very lucky. I could probably count on my one hand, maybe 1.5 hands, bad things people have said or an unhappy customer.
Hey, so you have very little the hater part. Okay, that's
right.
Good. That's good. I like
that's amazing, especially since no mentor, no baking experience. Just kind of. But as far as challenges are concerned, small business in general is, you have to get a tough skin and you have to get it fast. Because, you go into it wide-eyed thinking like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. I'm my own boss. I'm going to keep all this money. Every dollar that comes, I get to keep.
It's my money.
But in reality, it's like every dollar that comes, you owe $6 to someone else, So staffing is hard when you're small. When you're small, like you lose one person and you lose 50% of your staff. You lose one person, you lose 25% of your staff, depending on, how much staff you have at that time.
Right. You don't think about that. Okay.
So that's a challenge, but I've been really, really lucky with amazing, mostly girls that have worked there. I've had a few guys. But the girls that I have now are amazing. They're like in for the long haul, like small business and coffee shops and things like that look at turnover every 4 months, 3 months. So staffing hasn't been a huge obstacle, but work hours has. Mm-hmm. So even though I have the staffing, I don't have the money to have a staff of 15. Right. I have a staff of anywhere from 3 to 6. And if at any point in time, someone that I have on staff isn't trained to do everything, I'm the one there at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning. I'm the one there at 5 o'clock Sunday morning. Right. I'm the one, it's September 25th, 26th. Mm-hmm. I don't know what day it is. It's the end of September, and I've taken 2 weekends off this year.
Right.
This year. So that's a mental challenge in itself. It's not so much like, oh my gosh, I don't get weekends, but it's, oh my gosh, can I physically do this another day? Right. So you have to get past that. You have to accept you're going to work all the time.
It's a business. And I think the thing, I think this is going to be like a business series, hopefully, to, interview some other business people. But what I'm hearing is this is your job. But the thing is about being your own owner is that you can't turn it off because
It's your life. It's
your
not just
life.
your job.
And it's not like I work, I work for a university and it's 9 to 5. And once it's 5, emails off, I'm with my family and all that stuff. But my money is not, like I got a salary. And my money stops because of the hour. I get paid by the hour. But for you as a small business owner, your money is tangible to when you're there or not there, but your actual
what's coming through the door.
What's coming through the door. So, you think about the money that you're making, you think about the business, regardless of the hours of the day, because your money's out there making.
Oh my gosh, if I broke it down to hour, it'd be like 5 cents an hour. Like it's what people I think don't completely comprehend because that's my favorite coffee shop, and they go in and get their coffee and they leave and they have their favorite coffee and they're in the car on their way. I think a lot of people tend to forget, especially with small business, that there's people behind it. And I remember this day, it was in my first year I was open, and at that time it was earth shattering. If it happened now, I'd probably laugh about it and be like, this would happen. But Clifton, small town, everybody's on a water well. And it was the dead middle of winter. And I got in and I turned the faucet on. And it did that like noise.
Yeah.
And water came out for a second and stopped coming out. And I was like, where's the water? Called the landlord. And they called the water company, whatever. And it turned out, because it was so cold outside. Frozen pipes. And the well exploded. Like the lid to the well exploded. There was no pressure. It was a Saturday.
And that's your money day.
That's my money day. And what people don't realize is small businesses are not sitting on $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 in the bank account. There's days where you're at zero. And if you don't get that Saturday, come Monday morning, you're at zero.
Oh, yeah.
Think
about that.
So that's a huge challenge. So I lost that Saturday. I think I made like $60 on what
you could make,
so because without a sink, we're not doing dishes, we can't clean things, we can't bake things, we can't do anything without water, can't do coffee without water, can't do tea without water, and so just something so little then has a ripple effect of like 3 weeks for me, because with my luck, that's payroll week. I don't have Saturday. That's someone's entire paycheck, if not 2 paychecks.
Other people. These are big things that you didn't think about because.
And it's constant.
Who thinks about that?
Who thinks about that?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And I have a love-hate relationship with snow now. I love snow, but if it snows, people are not driving to Clifton.
Right, snow day. You're all, you can't get to Clifton.
Yeah. So it's like things like that I could list them forever.
You think that having a mentor would have prepared you for that, or you think that this is going to happen? I mean, this is life. Like, this is what happens. Mm-hmm. You just have to roll with it.
Yeah.
So obviously, listeners out here, this is your opportunity to have a mentor.
Help me.
No, I'm saying your mentor.
No, I still need one, though. I'm still looking for mine.
These are things that people don't think about. I did not think about that.
Yeah. It's so true, though.
I'm really thinking about this. Like, you're blowing my mind because, like, I'm going to give it up. Her shop is wonderful. The appearance of you and your spirit is wonderful. You seem like you have like,
everything together.
Yeah, you're like, what's the little iceberg that you see at the top? You don't see.
Oh my gosh!
You don't see below
biggest iceberg. Biggest iceberg in the ocean.
What's the real analogy? I think it's the duck, right? Like you see a duck, and the duck looks like it's chilling, but below, you don't know how frantic the feet are below the water.
Yeah.
So like your composure under that is amazing because I guess your feet are moving crazy, but and those are just I definitely never. I never had a small business, and I think for this podcast, you being an entrepreneur and taking risk on the surface is like, yo, this is it. You got your money. You're doing it. You're your own boss. But like these are ideas to me that I've never thought about. Like, that your money is to the day, to the hour of how you make the money, and unforeseen things can affect the money that you're making. I never thought about a snow day. My concept of snow day will change because of
your concept of snow day is like no work, and mine's like, oh God, no work.
Yeah, no work, no money. Like, and that's some things. What would be some, real tangible things that you can tell the others are going to start? Like you gave us an obstacle, and those are new things. But what is like a couple gems like if you're going to start a new business, I'm talking, you are the mentor now. This is your voice. Like right now, you are a mentor to the listeners of Positive Filter. What are some things you're going to tell someone that's going to open a small business, whether it's a tangible, like I said, a tangible shop such as yours? And I'm pretty sure it changes, right? Having a real shop presents new problems and different things than
It's just the cost.
working outside. So you said a mentor would cost. So explain, I guess, mentor someone. What about cost would you want to?
So if you want to, I think right now, I've been doing this for 5 years now. Some days it feels like a week. Some days it feels like it's been 100 years. But online presence right now is so big and so accessible that if you can run your same business online, do it. Because the brick and mortar aspect right now is it's losing to online. Food is good with a brick and mortar, but like I said, you run into the staffing, you run into the overhead, you run into having to keep everything stocked in every hour of every day. You have a bad Saturday and you run out of coffee in boxes and something all on the same day, and there's no money to buy coffee in boxes and ingredients all on the same day. You have to beg people, like, please, just this 1 week, make an exception. So if you can start online and really build a presence that way, I think that's an amazing way to start. There's so many tools out there to make a presence. And if you are going to do brick and mortar, you really have to have your mind in the mindset that you are this is what you are married to. This is your baby. This is you live, breathe, think, sleep the business. You wake up at 2 a.m. thinking the business. Like, you have to be prepared for that. You have to, as brick and mortar, you have to be prepared to really be able to adapt. If you can't adapt, you're done. Because, I'm as hard-headed as they come. And if I didn't adapt my business the way that it needed to be adapted, I would have gone under years ago. Half my business gets done in the morning. I never wanted to do breakfast. I never wanted to do scones. The scone sales I have, I can look back through my records, tens and tens and thousands of scones I've sold.
They're delicious.
And that's, I'm glad you think so. And that's all before 11 a.m., which is when the cupcakes are done. So it's, like I said, this whole new thing that opened because I was willing to adapt. So if I had to give,
those are some gems. I see you. So
you have to be adaptable.
You
have to be
adaptable.
You have to be adaptable, and you have to be willing to commit. It is going to be. It's not the metaphorical blood, sweat, and tears. It is the actual blood, sweat, and tears that you are going to put into small business. You're giving up everything, and if it works, it's amazing. And if it doesn't work, that's fine too.
Right. Because obviously
you did it.
You did it, one, and what I see from people that have small businesses is that they don't always just have one small business. Sometimes they rotate and see where the small business takes them to a new small business, and I think they take the lessons that they have and apply it to the small business to the next one, because you gotta constantly adapt. And I do definitely see the power of the online world and digital. So maybe for the people that are kind of old school, only brick and mortar, they had to kind of keep up with the times and get on that online space.
Yeah. Food is great. Brick and mortar you need for food. But without Facebook,
yes,
I would have no business.
Facebook is a big one for you?
People would not. I feel like I need to write Mark Zuckerberg a thank you letter.
Okay.
Send him cookies every week.
So Facebook's your main one, and Instagram?
Instagram is good, but Facebook is so localized. People have a tendency to like things where they are. Instagram is more you can like anything, anywhere, and it's it's good to look at,
Right.
Honestly, because of where I am, like I said, you've been there. It's a small town. And not only am I in a small town, I'm in the corner of the small town that a lot of people don't even know is there.
Right.
Facebook, I have almost 4,000 followers on Facebook, which isn't a crazy amount.
But if there's 4,000 people, that's of all those 4,000 people are Clifton, that's Clifton.
Right. If Facebook didn't exist, there would be 7 people that knew about my shop,
Exactly.
So that's been an amazing tool. So online really has expanded possibilities for a small business because people are able to see what you have to offer when they otherwise wouldn't even know you're there. But yeah, brick and mortar is tough, but that's when you get your hands in it. It's fun most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to do a little plug. We said if you listen to this episode and you say the word Positive Philter when visiting Cupcake, what would they get, a free cupcake?
Free cupcake.
Okay, so you hear that. And I always want to end this, on a positive note. That's why it's called Positive Philter. We trickle through the obstacles. I want to say a little bit about why, for me as a Positive Philter host, why I wanted you, and then I want you to leave off with a positive thing, that keeps you positive. But for me, like I said, your shop, I was introduced to you from Bijan and Cheyenne, and your shop always presented to me, and I think for most small businesses, a connection to the community, connection to Clifton, and I think more than big corporations, it's a connection to you as a person. So when I'm like, yo, I need cupcakes for a birthday party, or I need this cake, the first thing I go to the instinct is to use you because I want to support your endeavors. I support you as a friend, and I think that's one of the main advantages of small businesses too, is that when you invest your money, or you invest your money, but spend your money at a small business, you're not just giving your money to, Starbucks man. I don't even know who the CEO is. I'm giving my money in my business to someone I care about, and I want them to do well. So, for us, you're always going to have the Wilkinsons eat your cupcakes.
Love that.
And I think that for entrepreneurs as well, is that I always appreciate people that take risk and chase their dreams and follow their passions. And I had to have you as a guest on this podcast. And I really believe that some of the obstacles, some of the challenges, the things that you share is really going to help some people because, I'm really still dumbfounded that you didn't have a mentor. And hopefully this podcast can serve as a,
you can do it.
You can do it. Anyone can do it. Put your mind to it. And you can do it. Put your mind to it. What's that? Is that the rap song?
I don't think those are the words.
What's that joke? Okay, whatever. I'm always on tangents. But the point is that you're doing it, and this is serving as a model to everyone. And I really appreciate you coming on as a guest and supporting, my podcast and things like that. And I think that whatever business venture, you're going to be successful because obviously you, to me, you may not think it. I don't know. This is blowing my mind that you think. I really feel like you're that duck that's on the water looking so calm. That you are inspiring a lot of people that want to be a small business owner, and you're inspiring people like me that want to do stupid stuff like this podcast.
It's not stupid.
It's random stuff, and it not necessarily always is super organized, but it just happens. So thank you so much. Check out Cupcake, Positive Philter, get the free cupcake. But thank you so much. But leave off on a positive note. What is the last positive gem you can give to the listeners? Because obviously I know that you've had a tough time being a small business owner, but it's got to be a positive experience. So what's one last positive thing you can leave for listeners?
I think there's two that really come to mind real fast. Don't worry. That one is it really has showed me, like I said, economics, NYU, wanted to be a CFO and all these things. And I did not bake until I decided I wanted to bake. And it really has showed me, if you want to do it, go do it. There's literally nothing stopping you. And this is the most cliche thing you'll probably hear me say, but there's nothing stopping you other than yourself telling you can't do it. Why can't you do it? Because you're telling yourself you can't. And I think the other thing is the people that have been brought into my life, I probably would have never known you. You're great, but it's every day. These people that come back and they're like, oh, I was going to do this, but I wanted to stop by here and give you my $2 for coffee. And in the most broad spectrum of a way, it's it makes you feel so loved. I really feel like these people that have come into my life that I would have not even known existed And they're these amazing, some of them live in town, some of them drive from Alexandria, some of them, they come in to see me, some of them just hang around and like want to be friends. And that's amazing. And I just think that there's so many amazing people on this planet, and doing things like this allows you to branch out and be friends with and love on people that you never would have loved on before, and I just think that's so cool. So there's definitely a lot of good for all the hard things. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, listeners. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to leave Cupcake's address and Facebook page in the show notes. Please check her out. Please give her support. Thank you, and have a good day. You've been listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help along the way. Positive Philter was edited by Ronald Young Jr., host of Time Well Spent podcast and creator of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. For this episode, I'd like to give a special thanks to Kristina from Cupcaked for the guest appearance, Ryan Roseman for providing the music, and Maggie Wilkerson for just being an amazing and supportive wife. And lastly, anyone who took the time to listen to this podcast. If you're in the Clifton area, please check out Cupcaked for amazing food. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends. Spreading positivity is a movement. Thanks for listening.